Hi and welcome to this video. So today I want to talk about something again which is very important part of when you have an unhealthy relationship with yourself at present and you want to move or you want to build a healthy relationship with yourself. So this is for you if at present you have an unhealthy relationship with yourself, which basically means that you don't feel comfortable and confident in your body. Uh, you don't feel comfortable and confident in your body, and somewhere there's this feeling that okay, I'm not good enough, or you feel inferior in your own self. And so here this is where you are at present, but where you want to be is, or what you desire for yourself is that okay, I want to feel comfortable, I want to feel confident in myself. I don't want it that बाहर से अगर कोई मुझे कुछ कहे या फिर I will have this fear of judgment. So I don't want to be in a space where I have this fear of judgment. Instead, what I want is that okay, I'm grounded in myself, I know who I am, मतलब I feel confident of who I am, that I don't look for validation outside. So that is, I want to build a healthy relationship with myself. I want to feel good enough in myself. So if you're new here, I am a trained life coach and I help people go from a place where they have an unhealthy relationship with themselves to a space where they share a very beautiful, very understanding and loving and healthy relationship with their own selves. And I do these through coaching sessions. My first clarity calls are free. If you want to take a session, you can go to my comment section, you will find my contact there. You can DM me session and from there we can have our first pre-call. So then let's come back to today's topic. So today I want to talk about something which is inevitable in the process of building a healthy relationship with myself. So if I want to build a healthy relationship with myself, so I have previously talked about the importance of understanding myself. So if I am somebody who is interested in building a healthy relationship with myself, and given that at present I don't share such a good relationship with myself, the number one thing that needs to happen is that I understand myself. So I have talked about it, but there's something that comes even before this. There's something that comes even before this which is inevitable. So I can't move towards understanding myself or accepting myself, or to the point where I love myself, unless I have done this one thing which is the core of it. That is what we are going to dive deeper into. Okay, so this video is to help you understand yourself better and to help you understand your journey also. That if you want to, if you are visionary, that if you have this vision for yourself that I want to build a healthy relationship with myself, I want to feel good in myself, so that I can live a very happier and healthier life. This is something that you need to know. So for that, I want to start with that. Okay, so today, if I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, one of the thing is that is happening in that case is that I don't feel good in my body, right? And if I say that I don't feel good in my body, that I don't like the idea of myself, what is happening? Why would that happen? Why would somebody not like the idea of themselves? Why would not somebody like being in their body? Why doesn't somebody feel good being themselves? Simple, because the way I see myself is not good. The idea that I have of my own self is unhealthy, it's destructive. So matlab ki if I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, that means that the way I see myself, the self-image that I carry, the self-concept that I have, the idea that I have of my own self, of how I am, so the person that I think I am is not good, is unhealthy, is destructive. Matlab ki when I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, the idea that I have of my own self, the way I see myself, the way I think, feel and see myself, my self-image, who I think I am, is actually unhelpful, is actually unhealthy, is actually negative. So matlab kahin na kahin the person that I'm not liking it's not necessarily me. It's rather a self-image that I have created in my head, that is in such a way that I end up not liking it. So matlab if I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, number one thing that is happening, or the number one reason why it happens is that the way I see myself, who I think I am, is not good enough, right? So that is the number one thing which is happening, okay? But something that I want to add on to this is the reality that why, how it is a problem exactly, how this is a problem exactly. Because first is, okay, that first thing is, when we have an unhealthy relationship with ourselves, first thing that is happening is that I do not have a very good or very positive, or I would say a very healthy self-image of myself. So I don't have a very healthy self-image, which means that I have a very destructive, very negative, very unhealthy image of my own. Second wrong thing that happens here is, that adds on to this, is that I'm also believing into it. I trust it. So I trust the self-image that I'm carrying of my own self in my head. So एक तो ये हो गया कि the way I see myself is not in a very right sense. The way I think of myself is a very negative sense, is very unhealthy. Second thing that's happening is that I'm trusting it, I'm believing into the self-image that I'm carrying. Up until now, I've made it my truth, that is the truth, that is exactly how I am. So if in my self image, if my self concept is that I'm not good enough, I can't do things right, I always make mistake, good for nothing, okay? So if this is how I think of myself, if this is a self image that I have in here, second problem is that I'm believing into it, I'm trusting into it, I've never questioned it. I've never questioned or asked myself that when did I start believing into myself like that, or when did I learn that I'm not good enough. No, I have been trusting into it. So that's the bigger problem here. And so, no, but actually, what's the reality? I mean, what's the reason that I have such beliefs, or that I'm carrying such an unhelpful self-image in my head? So first thing is that there's always a source, or there's always a source which has resulted us into having that unhealthy self-image of myself. So there's always a source, and that source is never me. Matlab, see, when you were born, you were not born with the unhealthy self-image that you're carrying of your own in your own head of your own self. So matlab, when you were born, you were not born with this idea of self that I'm not good enough, I can't do things right, people are so much better than me, I can't make mistake, I always make mistake, good for nothing. Nobody is born with such such self-image or such negative beliefs about themselves. So matlab ki, as I was growing up, something happened, there was a source which led me to look at myself in that unhealthy manner. And the problem that happened, that I trusted it, that I believed it, that even today as an adult, I'm still believing into that unhealthy self-image of mine. I'm somewhere, even right now I'm trusting, even today I trust that, that is me. That is who I've always been, that is my truth, and that is why I do not like myself. That is why self-hatred comes in. And when self-hatred or self-dislike comes in, confidence हो गया, self-belief हो गया, trusting myself, it just leaves. उसके लिए जगह ही नहीं बचती है. See, there's only one space. या तो उस जगह पे self-dislike या self-hatred रह सकता है, या फिर उस जगह पे self-belief, self-trust, I love myself, self-acceptance रह सकता है. So coming back to the same now I mean, so I was talking about the source. That the self-image that we have, the truth is, the self-image that I'm carrying today, it has a source. I was not born with it. So that is not my truth. That's not my truth. That's not who I am in real. That is one thing that we need to understand here. That if I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, it is because I'm carrying a certain unhealthy self-image of my own self. But the reality is, that is not me. It has a source. उसका एक source है. और वो सोर्स कोई भी हो सकता है. इट कैन बी अ वेरी डोमिनेंट पर्सन, कोई पेरेंट, मे बी कोई गार्जियन, या फिर कोई बुली, कोई टीचर, कोई भी हो सकता है जिसकी प्रेजेंस बहुत ही डोमिनेंट थी हमारी लाइफ में. समबडी who made me feel like I was not enough, and not just like for 1-2 events, nahi, but for a considerable period of time. So this person who was our source for having me developed this unhealthy self-image of mine, basically what happened was that this person, growing up with them, how they made me feel was that I'm not good enough, because they never paid attention to me. And when I would be with them, I would end up feeling like there's some problem in me, there's something, I am the fault, there's some problem in me, that is why other people are not loving me. And when I feel that way in someone's presence, I would make it about myself, that I am not enough, I am not good enough, I can't do things right. So if somebody is criticizing me constantly, I would make it about myself, that if somebody is criticizing me, it is because I am not good enough, I can't do things right, मुझसे चीज़ें सही से नहीं होती है. So problem is in me. And because we are just children, we would believe into it. So growing up, when it keeps happening, I would end up with such a self-concept and such a self-image that I am not good enough, and other people are so much better. But what is the reality? That the self-image, the beliefs that I carry today, which are not helping me, the reason why I ended up forming that belief was because of somebody else, because somebody else made me feel like that. So source was somebody else. And this source की अगर हम बात करें, if we have to understand the source or go deeper into them, जो भी हमारा source होता है, the source which actually made us feel shame in our own selves, this source is generally a person जिनका खुद के साथ भी unhealthy relationship ही होता है. यानी कि उनके अंदर खुद, they themselves are not sorted in themselves enough to give love, to have the capacity to understand your emotions, that what does the child need when they're growing up, that they need love, they need reassurance, they need validation. So they do not have the capacity to understand your needs, so they end up giving what they have, which is criticism, negative self-talk, making you feel bad about yourself, because again they're coming from the same space, they also feel bad about themselves. But as children, we made it about ourselves, that it must be me. Okay, so coming back to the same point, that yeah, so one thing that is happening if I have an unhealthy relationship with myself is that there is a certain way I'm looking at myself which is not helping, which is not helpful, which is not healthy, which is not helping me. So number one thing that needs to happen, which I cannot skip, which nobody can skip when they are on this journey of going from an unhealthy relationship to building a very healthy, very understanding relationship with themselves, is that coming to a point, that I need to come to a point where I genuinely start to believe that what, who I have, मतलब मैं अपने आप को जो समझता था अभी तक, who I've been thinking of myself as for so long, that is not true. The self-image that I've been carrying for so long, the way I've been seeing myself for so long, as it was just not true. That is not who I am. And it can come as a shock. It can come as a shock. And even though I'm telling it to you right now, I do not expect this thing to just land upon you. No, because this work is very personal. It's unique to all of us. So how it is going to happen for me, it's going to carry the part of my story, so it's going to be very personal for me, versus how it is going to happen for you, it's going to be very personal for you. And that is why it happens through inner work. And inner work, say, what I essentially mean is that it needs to happen, with reference to your story, to your context. So just because I'm sharing it with you, I do not expect कि अचानक से आपको हो ही जाए, that you are coming to a point where actually believing that what, the person that I've been thinking of who I am for so long, मतलब जिस नज़र से मैं खुद को देखती आ रही हूँ अभी तक, it is not true. All this while, the way I was looking at myself, or who I thought I was, that was not true. So I'm not expecting this to happen with you just because I'm sharing it with you here. No, it takes time, because it needs to happen for you. It needs to happen with respect to you, or with reference to your story, to your context. So there's a history that you're carrying, right? So if you're here sitting as a person today, you are a product of all the events, of all the experiences that have happened with you. You're carrying your story in your body. So just because I am telling you something, and that is why tips and tricks do not work. That is why tips and tricks do not work, because they just give you advices and opinions on a surface level. But what needs to happen is that I need to go dive deeper into myself. That if I was carrying this certain self-image which was unhelpful, what was the reason? What was my source? The more I understand this source, the more I'm able to understand them. That what was the reason why I built this unhealthy self-image in the first place. The more I'm able to understand that, the more, or the more I would be able to come to this point where I genuinely start to believe that what, इतने देर से मैं अपने आप को जो समझ रही थी, the way I was looking at myself for so long, the way I used to think of myself for so long, it was just not true. That is not who I am. और यहाँ पर because we're talking about specifically the case where we have an unhealthy relationship with myself, तो वो जो self image होगी वो unhealthy थी. That is why it is good when this happens. When you are, so it's like I want you to imagine a page, a diary. अब उस पेज पे I want you to imagine that something has been written. ठीक है, imagine there's this page, and all your self-image, your beliefs, what I think of myself is written, right? Now the thing is, I cannot rewrite on this. So if I have to go from having unhealthy or negative self-image about myself to a point where I have good, positive, empowering thoughts about my own self, beliefs about my own self, I cannot rewrite on it, right? So अगर कोई पेज है उस पर ऑलरेडी पेंसिल से बहुत सारी चीज़ें लिखी हुई हैं, मैं वापस एक और पेंसिल लेकर उस पर नहीं लिख सकती, राइट? एवरीथिंग वुड बी मोर क्योटिक, और क्योस हो जाएगा, कुछ पढ़ने में ही नहीं आएगा कि है क्या एग्जैक्टली. And that's what tips and tricks do. When we try to just affirm, when we try to force things, when I try to just affirm to myself that I'm good enough, I'm confident, things do not happen, because I'm rewriting. I'm not actually looking at, okay, उस पेज पे already क्या लिखा है. And what needs to happen is that I need to read what is already there, and then second step that needs to happen is I need to erase it. I need to clean that page. I need to start from a fresh page, clean slate. So that is what I'm talking about here. So number one thing that needs to happen when I want to build a healthy relationship with myself is that I need to come at a point where I genuinely start to believe, or I genuinely start to not believe into the self-image that I've been believing for so long. That I come to a point that okay, मैं अभी तक जिस नज़र से अपने आप को देख रही थी, the person that I thought I was, that was just not true. That is not my reality. That is not who I am in truth. Because the reason I'm hating myself today is, or I'm disliking myself today is, because of which I don't feel comfortable in my body, is because I thought I was that person. I thought I was not good enough. I thought it was my problem. The problem wasn't me. So the number one thing that needs to happen is that we really, through inner work, through by going deeper into a story, by understanding the source, we need to come at a point where I genuinely start to be that, okay, it was never about me, it was about somebody else, that source. So the person that I think I am, the person that I've been thinking for so long, कि मैं ये इंसान हूँ, that is not true. And so, when we come to this realization, when we would actually be at this point, it can come as a shock initially. It can come as a, very surprise, like because what is happening? It's like now I'm almost like a stranger to my own self. Because अभी तक मैं अपने आप को ऐसे देख रही थी. And now all of a sudden now I genuinely believe that okay, this is not who I am. So मैं अब मैं अपने आप को जानती ही नहीं हूँ मतलब. So it's like I'm going to start from a very fresh page. So it can come as a shock, but it's a good thing, because now when I've at least stopped believing into the wrong or unhealthy self that I was considering myself to be for so long, I have the opportunity to again explore my own self, to really learn about my true self, to explore my authentic self. That okay, if this is not who I am, जो मैं अभी तक सोच रही थी कि मैं ये हूँ, क्योंकि अच्छा नहीं था सेल्फ इमेज, इसलिए मुझे नहीं पसंद था जैसे मैं हूँ, मेरा द आइडिया दैट आई कैरी अबाउट माई ओन सेल्फ. सो इफ दिस इज नॉट माई ट्रूथ, I let this go. I would let this go. I would stop believing into it. I would stop making it about myself. Then I would actually be in a place where I would allow myself to explore, to ask myself that okay, who am I then? What do I like? What is my thing? What do I like doing? What am I good at? What I'm not good at? Who am I? So I'm finally at a space where I'm going to allow myself to explore myself. And when I say explore myself, here I will be able to offer myself this chance to explore my real self, true self, to really find out my authentic self, that who am I in real. Okay, so this is like the step that we cannot miss when it comes to building a healthy relationship, because once this thing is done, after that everything will come. Understanding myself, understanding myself, understanding my story, where I'm coming from. When once that happens, I would start to accept myself. I would feel more acceptance toward my own self, because then I would understand myself. And once I start to accept myself, and once I start to accept myself, as well as I start to explore myself, I would start to fall in love with myself. I would start to be more kind, be more compassionate towards my own self. And so, but all of these things, finding my true self, connecting with myself, connecting with my authentic self, learning about my own self, all of this would come after this one thing that happens. That again, if I want to hold something good, I have to let go of what I already have in my hands. So I have to let go of that. And to let go of that means what? That I need to dive deeper into me. कि अभी मैं अपने बारे में क्या सोचती हूँ? Where it comes from? What is the source? So that I'm able to come to a point where I'm able to let go of it. That okay, this is not true. The image that I've been carrying of myself in my head, who I thought or who I think who I am, it's not true. So I can let it go. Because once I let it go, I would finally have space enough in my body to explore like who am I then. And that's a good thing, because only then I would allow myself to start from a fresh page. That okay, let's explore who I am in true. That is about exploring my true authentic self, which is nothing but again a way to gain confidence. Because see, I believe all of these things are related. So when I have an unhealthy relationship with myself, I'm not confident. I have this strong fear of judgment. I feel so self-conscious when I'm in front of people. It becomes so hard for me to be myself. I people please. I act hard to please other people because I want them to think good of me. So confidence is the last thing that will happen to me when I have an unhealthy relationship with myself. I do not understand myself here. I judge myself. I accuse myself. But at the same point, when I start to work on myself, when I start to be on this journey of building a healthy relationship with myself, the moment I start this work, everything will start getting sorted. So because see, once I start to dive deeper into myself, once I start to explore my negative self-image that I'm carrying or negative self-concept that I'm carrying, and once I start to work on that, once it starts to heal, all of these things, me being self-conscious, me having strong fear of judgment, not feeling confident, all of these would start to get better altogether. Because what do I mean when I say feeling confident? That I believe in myself, that I accept myself. And when I say that I accept myself, fear of judgment खुद ही कम होने लगता है. Because fear of judgment आता कहाँ से? That I'm unable to accept myself, so I want other people to think good of me. But when I accept myself, I've already started to think good of me. So it would stop mattering to me what other 10 people think of me. And when I stop thinking about what other people think of me, when I stop caring about what 10 other people think of me, I will stop that thing that मैं self-conscious feel करती हूँ. It would start to ease down. So you see how when I just start when I start to walk towards building a healthy relationship, all of these things would start happening on its own altogether. So yeah, this is the work I do. I help people build a very healthy relationship with themselves, where I help people understand themselves. Like, I help people relate to themselves in a very healthy manner. I help them understand themselves, understand their story, so that they relate to themselves better, so that more than anybody else, they know themselves the best. They know who they are and they accept themselves. They're okay with it. As a result of which, they feel comfortable in your skin. You feel comfortable in your skin. You feel confident as you are in your body. Okay, because I believe all of us deserve this thing. All of us deserve to live a life where at least we feel comfortable in our own body, because our body is like our home. So imagine if somebody does not feel safe in their own home, how would life be like them? How would their life feel to them? Very scary, right? A very scary place to be. They can't trust anybody. Similarly, if I don't feel safe in my own body, it's going to be a very difficult journey. Okay, so if you want to build a healthy relationship with yourself, I invite you to book your first clarity call with me. My first clarity calls are free. So go to my comment or description section. You will have my WhatsApp contact and you can DM me session, and let's have our first session together. Alright, bye bye.